Yeah, cool. Let's do this.
Yeah. All right. Welcome back, everyone. uh, so right now I'm once again with Ben, who accepted to contribute with us. So now we have our node ready, right? We have our stake. Let's go see that Sancho keys. We have our keys ready. We've done the delegation and everything. And we are ready to generate our DReps key. I want to be a DRep on Sancho testnet, so how do I do that? On sancho.network, there is a nice documentation, and on the documentation tab, you go to register as a DRep, and it actually shows you the commands that you need to generate your keys and to start making your registration cert. But let's take a look at it first. So here we have some prerequisite. So we need a payment address with found, which we have, and a running SanchoNet node that we also have. So let's do this. So we have the command already built here. We could just copy paste it, right? But I'm kind of curious. So let's go see that. Cardinal CLI, Conway, governance, DRep keygen. So as you can see, the only thing that's required here is a verification key file and a signing key file that we will define. So if we just copy paste this, it's going to generate it for us. So let's do this. Enter. So we have our DRep V key and DRep S key. So next, we're going to create our DRep ID that people are going to use to delegate to us. So let's do this. Copy, paste it. So what it does pretty much is here's the command, right? Oh, I'm going to show it here. That's the command. Conway governance DRep ID. And we have to provide the verification key that we just generate. And out file, which is going to be the ID itself, DRep ID. So if I show it, DRep.id. Here's our, this is our ID right there. So this is what people will use to delegate to us. All right, so let's make our registration certificate. So we're gonna use the DRep key itself, right? Because we have it. So let's do this. So we'll use that. So what it does here, it creates a registration certificate. We need to provide our verification key that we just generated, a deposit that is for now 0 because it's going to be a protocol parameter that is that has a variable value, which means that we can vote through governance action to change that. If we want DReps to put a deposit of, let's say, 200 data, we can use the governance action and then, you know, submit it. I want this to be 200 data deposit.
But for now it's 0.
For now it's 0. And the out file that we're going to name DRep register cert. So that's it. I'll just copy paste it. This is so quick.
Yeah, there we go.
Flip it down. Right there, registration cert. All right, so this is done. So we'll scroll down to the next. We have to submit it, right? So we've just registered, well, we're not registered yet, but we have our registration certificate done. So now we're going to submit it using the Cardinal CLI transaction build. So we have to mention the Conway era, the network we're using. Witness override is the numbers of keys we're going to use to sign, which is going to be our payment keys for the transaction itself, and the DRep signing key to sign the fact that, you know, we are who we say we are on the cert.
Right.
So next, that's what I told you about earlier. The transaction in, instead of just putting the UTXO hash directly on it, what they did here is they added the result of the Cardinal CLI query command, which is going to do pretty much the same, right? Instead of just putting the command on your terminal and grab the hash, actually I could just grab all this and paste it here, and I'm gonna get the UTXO of my wallet. So it's gonna work great. Next, the change address. which is our own payment address. So we're sending money to ourselves to register a stake, not a stake, but
Right.
a DRep cert. The certificate itself and the name of the transaction draft that we're making right here. So let's do this and see what happens. It worked. And since we use the transaction build, like I told you yesterday, it gives us automatically the fees.
Oh, yeah. Okay, right.
So we don't have to break our head with that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So next we have to sign it. So transaction sign, we mention our transaction body file, signing key, the payment I told you before, the signing key for our DReps ID, the network used, and the file of our signed transaction, which is going to be transaction.signed. So we paste it. This is so fast. And we have it right here. Transaction signed. So everything's ready. We can submit it to the blockchain. So pretty much again, transaction submit, the network, and the file we're submitting. So we'll copy it and paste it. And we are officially registered as a DRep.
Oh, that's great. Would you say it's conceptually, there's parallels between, obviously, it's just funny that they mixed up the stake, the pool IDs with, because as a DRep it's a stake pool type of concept applied to governance, right? I mean, it's the same mechanisms to the point where the people building it are confusing the two, right? But it's forgivable because conceptually it's pretty close, right?
This is exactly right. Actually, we delegate to DRep the very same way we delegate to stake pools. Like we did before, we generate an hash from those DReps key. The same way you generate an hash, which is going to be your pool identity that people use to delegate to you.
Well, and the mechanisms have been very successful in terms of stake pools so far, right? So it's also very justifiable that you'd say, hey, we already built this great mechanism for staking in terms of reward and securing the network, and now governance, let's apply it in a different way, but it's the same, concept.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Very same concept. Again, it's the same concept. It's very safe. Unless you keep your keys on your hot node, which is not very safe, and
that's the key, right? Is the ability to verify from an offline device.
Yes.
And that's only possible because we can know what the fees are going to be, right? Because the fees are knowable ahead of time.
Yeah, right, exactly. Because doing those stuff, you can do all that offline, right? All you need is the binaries that we just did in the past videos. If you take a look at it, you install the node on another computer, you isolate it from the links that you will see below, of course, on how to make an air gap environment, and from that environment you generate your keys. It kind of forces you to have already the last version of the node on your cold environment.
And for governance, it's so important, though, that that extra layer of security is there, that people, I mean, just think about if we want to be doing consequential things on Cardano, and you have people voting on, what hopefully are very consequential decisions, you want to be able to trust that the DReps vote is what we think it is, what it's supposed to be. It hasn't been hacked or, so it's interesting to see that people are actually so DReps will be able to sign governance actions for Cardano from from a cold offline device, which is pretty secure, because that essentially means in order for that to be not representing what the DRep wants, there would have to be someone physically in the room with that person and the device, essentially like forcing them to make a decision against their will, right? Like you just couldn't hack it remotely.
No.
Which is the whole point, but it's pretty incredible when we think about decentralized governance,
It kind of acts exactly like a hardware device, just like a cold wallet, pretty much.
Right.
The only way to have access to that is to pretty much steal it from the person that make it, And even if you do, if that person know what he's doing, he probably encrypted his hard drive. I'm not gonna get too much into that, but
Yeah. It's
it's
not important.
yeah, right.
It's
So
it's it's amazing though, and it's a great feature, you know, of SanchoNet and what's happening here. You know, it's pretty great.
yeah,
But yeah, we're making a video here. Sorry, stay focused.
that's all right. That's perfect. That's what it's all about, man. Talking about governance. It's great. What's next? Delegate vote to a DRep. I
So we're
generated my
registered
keys.
as a DRep now.
We're registered as a DRep, but am I stake to myself?
Oh, okay.
To
Right
myself.
there, the voting, it involves issuance of delegation certificate from your stake key to the chosen SanchoNet DRep.
Just as with stake delegation. So yes, I will have to delegate to myself.
Yeah.
So let's do that, right? Prerequisite. So we need a payment key with money in it, obviously. A stake key to stake to a DRep. If you know the SIP 1694 pretty well, you know that we have two predefined DReps. Okay, we have always abstain and always no confidence. So you can delegate to that as well. If you don't want to participate to any sort of governance on Cardano, you can delegate to always abstain.
So it's going to check for those first, whether you selected one of those two before it looks for the DRep ID, right?
If you
Because
delegate,
you wouldn't have both.
no, you can't. You can't say I delegate to this DRep and always abstain because
Yeah.
always abstain is a DRep.
So there's always two, there's always an uninvolved DRep and there's always a upset DRep that you can
Yes.
that you, yeah, got it. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. So if for any reasons you're not satisfied of the constitutional committee and your DRep doesn't seem to be willing to, vote for no confidence, you can redelegate to always no confidence. And all your staking power is going to be used only on every governance action. This DRep will vote no confidence automatically.
It's fascinating. Okay. That's interesting. Or you could just say, hey, I don't want to be involved right now. I'm not as a DRep, I'm not doing the research for
Yeah,
these next few decisions, so I'm gonna be always abstaining.
always abstaining. That's mainly for those people who doesn't want to vote or doesn't want to be involved and still want to get their reward, as you
So even
may.
if you vote always abstain, you're still delegating, you're still
You're
casting
you're
a vote,
delegating to.
you're still participating.
Yes, your stake credential are considered as participating to the governance mechanism, but you
Hmm.
always vote
Okay.
abstain. Yes.
Okay.
Before we keep going, I just have some precision to make. So in the few first videos that we made, the part 1 and the part 2, you will see that the way that we made the registration for our stake address as well as the one to delegate to a stake pool has been done from the legacy commands. So it means pretty much that you can also use those commands on the mainnet. I'm gonna show them to you. Cardano CLI stake address, and these are the command that we used: registration certificate and the delegation certificate. But as you can see, I took those from the legacy group of commands. But there's another way on Sancho testnet to do the very same thing, and it is the Cardinal CLI Conway. And as you can see, there is the stake address option as well inside that top command. So we'll do it. Stake address. And here, this is new from the version 8.12.0.0. So as you can see, you have your registration certificate there as well. So you could have used this, but the reason why I did it is I used the legacy command so you guys can still use it on mainnet. But on Central you can do it from there. It's up to you. So that's about the registration certificate. But the thing that's really nice about Sancho as well is that you can delegate to a stake pool using this command, stake delegation certificate. You can delegate to both stake pool and a DRep inside the same certificate, and you can as well just make a certificate only to delegate to a DRep. So since I delegated to to an IOG pool, I would personally prefer to delegate to able pool, and at the same time delegate to a DRep, which is going to be my own key, the one that I generated with the DRep ID. Because right now I have the key, I have the ID, but there's absolutely no stake, there's no ADA stake to it. So we'll do that real quick. So the command that we want to use is the stake and vote delegation certificate. Stake and vote delegation certificate. And I'll show you the options. No, actually, first, I need to have my pool ID that I want to stake with, and the DRep ID that I want to stake with, which is my own DRep ID. Because right now it's registered, but there's no stake that is, that is delegated to it. So I want to use my own stake address and delegate to my own DRep ID. So let's do that. First, I need to know my DRep ID. Here it is. And my stake pool ID. So let's go take a look at it. Cardano, CLI, query, stake, pools. And I need to mention the testnet magic 4, which is the Sancho testnet. Alright, so one of these pools is able. And I want to make sure that, I'm staking to the right one. And I believe it's this one. We'll go to Cardano CLI query again, pool state. But I don't remember what the command needs, so it needs from that it's the network and the stake pool ID, of course. Alright, let's do this. I'll mention the testnet magic 4 and the stake pool ID, which is my pool. There it is. So if I check, that's the right one. Able. Awesome. So now we are ready to build our certificate. Cardano CLI Conway stake address. What was it? Stake and vote. All right, so I'll write that down. Stake and vote. Delegation certificate. As you can see, it needs the stake verification key file. It needs the stake pool ID and the DRep key hash that we just got earlier. And we'll mention the name of the certificate. Sorry. So let's do this. Cardinal CLI Conway stake address, stake and vote delegation address, dash dash, stake verification key file, and it's stake.v key. Next, we need the stake pool ID, which is this one. Next line, we need the DRep key hash. And I'm gonna grab it because I already have it somewhere. And you just paste it. Next line. So now we need a name for our file. Let's call it DRep SPO deleg.cert. Why not? And that's it. So I have it right here. Now the rest is kind of really easy. So the next step will be to build our transaction to submit our certificate on chain, right? So here it is, the Cardano CLI. It says transaction build, and actually it also used the option Conway era, which doesn't exist anymore for that purpose on the version of the CLI 8.12.0.0. So we're gonna have to change that just a little bit, but it should still work. So I'll just copy paste it. We'll get back to the certificate and change it to DRep SPO deleg cert. That's good. Our change address is good. The query command as well. That's good. We gotta get back up to Conway era and remove it. So I remove this like that. And I have to change this to Cardinal CLI Conway transaction build. And that should work. There you go. There's our fee. We have our transaction raw ready, so let's sign it. I'm sorry, I'll move that aside. There you go. All right, let's sign it. Right below it, you have everything you need. Cardinal CLI transaction sign, the transaction body file that you need, the signing key, which is the payment, another signing key, the stake key, Sancho testnet, and the name of our file. So we just paste it there. That's it, our transaction is signed, and we submit it. There you go. So right now, the transaction is successfully submitted, which means that I changed my stake pool delegation to another stake pool, and at the same time, I delegated my stake to a DRep, which is myself in this case. So the next step, I'm going to wait for my friend Van, because he's doing his own DRep keys as we speak. And the next step would be to have me submitting a governance action, and Van is going to vote on it. I hope he's gonna vote for it. We'll see. So this is going to be in the next video. So I'll see you there.